In today's video, I'm taking a Tesla Model 3 battery pack and placing it inside of my Volkswagen Vanagon Doka. This is a part of my Tesla swap electric conversion project. Here is a Tesla Model 3 standard range battery pack. Here are all of the ancillary components associated with it, and the original plan was to just place it into the bed of the truck and call it a day. However, as you can see right here, it's slightly too long. So, in a revision plan, we're going to open it up, cut it down, and install it on the truck. Okay, here's the game plan. We're going to take this battery pack. We are going to shorten it to right here. That's going to give us a total length of about 52 inches. Now, it'd be really easy to just put it in the bed of the truck or remove all this kind of bedding support material, drop it down a couple of inches, but I want to get this weight as low as possible. Initially, the plan was to go underneath the Doka, which there is space for, but my ground clearance would be really low. The battery would be one of the lowest points of the vehicle. It'd be exposed to the elements, not ideal. Now, the current plan is to use this treasure chest area. It's normally for tool storage, and we've got the length for these battery modules. So actually, in this exact orientation they will fit lengthwise in here. However, width-wise, it won't work, right? This only looks to be about enough space for two of the modules, and that's about 28 inches. Two of the modules, 1 and 2, that's 28 inches right there. So I could fit two of the modules, so I could double stack them, but then I do start running into length clearance because I can't just perfectly stack these on top of each other. Because of these posts, I do need to offset them a little bit for these posts. So I'd actually, if I double stack them, I'd be from here to like here. So it'd be too long. So what I'm going to do, because I would ideally just leave everything in this orientation, so I can take the penthouse and the PCS, which controls all the high voltage stuff, that can all stay in its stock location. I don't have to move bus bars around. What I'm going to do, I'm going to walk around the van. Hello, top of the battery case. By the way, this is steel. The top is steel. The bottom of the battery case is aluminum. So if you want to shorten and weld this all back together, you got to be able to weld two different types of metal. Anyways, here we are on the other side. Here's our 28 inches or so of space. And over here, this is where the rear seat normally sits. Now, all that separates out these two sides, this side and this side right here, is this very thin firewall of sorts. You can feel like it's barely in there. You can see the tacks from the factory. It's, you know, this isn't a stock Vanagon part. You could kind of tell that here is where the regular camper setup of a Vanagon would be, right? You'd have like your sink across here, your rear seats would be right here, and then the bed would fold back over that top cover. So really, this is just a piece they used for these truck variants, which there weren't that many of, right? So I'm gonna go through here. I'm going to drill out all of these spot welds. You can see them. Oh, you can see a bunch right here. This is that support right here, right there. I'm gonna drill all this out, take this firewall out. I've seen someone do this before, just for pass-through access. And then I should be able to fit the batteries laying like this. Perfectly in here, protected from the elements in here. And this will all be waterproof as well too, with the metal on top. So, yeah, I have seen someone remove this. Apparently these trucks were used a lot to smuggle drugs a long time ago over the Canadian to American border. People would remove this firewall, Bondo close this treasure chest area, and have kind of a secret pass-through compartment with the seat, which is right here, would sit on top of this. So I'm not doing that. I'm just putting batteries in there. Okay, this might work a little bit better. Old school Ryobi still takes a modern battery. It's so light. Okay, so I've cut out this middle part of the frame. It's sitting right here. Was that a dumb move? I don't know. I mean, it's pretty light. Also, regular Vanagons have all this open anyways. Of course, there is the shell that comes over, which would add rigidity, but I think everything's fine for right now. We've got solid beams coming around the side and underneath. There are frame rails underneath too, so I think we're okay for right now. Of course, the plan is going to be to eventually add supports back in to strengthen all this up, and so I can still put weight onto the bed. However, I'm going to keep opening this up, cutting away at some of this metal to make more space to fit in a cut down version of that battery into this space and slide underneath the rear seats that are down there as well too. Right now, we've got about 31 inches. Obviously this is at the top. We're going to be working in at the bottom. So we're at about 28 inches down here, which would work for double stacking the batteries. Of course, I would still have to remove this and this. And if I'm going to do that anyways, might as well just take this wall out as well and stack all four in the way that they're supposed to be, all flat next to each other. So. Okay, we have taken this middle panel out, and now it looks so much more just like a regular camper version of these vans where it's just all open here. So that's why I feel like it's still structurally fine. However, check that out. I can still mount the rear bench seat. I've got to clean all of this up, obviously. I started by drilling the spot welds, and that was taking forever, and it was really messy. So then I just switched to the jigsaw, which took its fair abuse in this process, but ended up being really clean. And I can just come back with an angle grinder and clean a lot of this up. But we have some pretty decent space now to fit some batteries that will come through here underneath the wall and end about right here. And then the seat will go around it and you won't even be able to see it. Okay, here it is with the bench back in here. We honestly might have to scoot this bench forward a couple of inches, which is a bummer, but not the end of the world. Yeah, it's gonna go the other way. It would work this way, but okay, here is the shortened battery pack. There's some scrapped metal over there. There's a couple more pieces of it floating around. What we did is we just chopped down the bottom half of the case, and then we took the top half, cut it short, but I gave it an extra, I don't know, I think this is like 4 1/4. I cut myself, obviously. 4 1/4 plus another 1/4 inch underneath. And so I just scored it with an angle grinder and some complex geometry, so kind of simplified it up a little bit, hammered it all over, got it to fit more or less flush. Now this side is not super important because this is going inside the actual truck, so we just want people to not be able to get into it. But obviously, like that's a hole right there because I had to score that because this is a channel in order to bend it. So I am going to kind of rough this out like this is right now. And then I'm going to cut all of these excess pieces, grind it down, weld it, turn it into a solid case on the front, remove it, put the batteries back in, which are all under there, and assemble it. Put it into the truck. Okay, here's my shrunken down Tesla pack. Standard range battery pack, which was shrunk down. It is going to be going into this truck. So for our battery, see we have coolant that comes out there, there, and there. And I had made the front of the case flat. So I'm gonna take this hole saw and I'm going to drill a hole here, here, and there, for all of the coolant lines, which are all sitting there in a pile by a welder. So here's the front of the battery case. Just gonna drill a couple holes so those coolant lines can go through. All right, I just spent the whole morning reassembling the penthouse of the battery. Now I just need to do a couple bits and bobs, bolt it all back together, and then it's time to install it into the actual truck itself. So putting back together this penthouse of the battery is kind of like a puzzle. I had boxes of parts and bolts, and I didn't have a manual or an instruction on how to do it. So I think I did a pretty good job. I do have a couple leftover bolts. I don't know if you can see these here. Is that a lot? Is that too many bolts? Is that too many left over? Nah, just kidding. That's from shortening the battery pack, so that's normal. Here's my first attempt of loading the battery into the bed of the truck, and as you can see, it did not quite go as planned. Chain. Center strap to keep it centered. Both sides. Car lift, single lift. Let's see what happens. Attempt number 2 was much more successful and resulted in the battery being placed in the bed of the truck. All right, here we are back with the Doka. The battery is placed after it's been shortened back on the bed of the truck. Okay, battery is up in the air. You can see how this is gonna kind of go in. We're gonna need a little bit more tilt down for it to slide in, and then we'll get an engine hoist on the inside to lift it up and slide it all in. But let's put this down, see what we've got. Okay, everything is set up to go in. We have an engine hoist actually hooked up to a lift, which will work though. So the way that this battery needs to go in, it needs to go in at an angle because it's going to go down and then up. See in here, there is another engine hoist in here to grab onto the battery once it comes down at an angle and lift it back up. And then this arm, as this will all be lifted in the air, I can slide this over and rotate this pivot point back through here to get down and then level it back up as we're going. Yeah, so let's give it a shot. I'll set up the camera. Show this part of the process though. Why I have these 2x4s up here. Those are the high voltage connectors, and they are extremely close to everything right now. So if those break, I'm out of luck. I'd have to order new parts. These 2x4s seem to be doing the trick, as well as lifting up the battery as it slides into here. We've got, inches, centimeters. So if I jack this up a little bit, there we go. So we have a very slight air gap as this slides in. You did it. And there we go. We have successfully installed our shortened Tesla Model 3 battery into my 1985 Volkswagen Vanagon Doka. All right, nice. Everything fits within 2 inches on every side, so it was a very tight fit. And you can even access all the high voltage components in the penthouse through the treasure chest doors. Okay, so I think that's about it. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, let me know. Stay tuned, we're gonna install that motor. And tune in next week to see me install the Tesla motor into the truck.